Hey everyone, this is Clinton Manning, and you're watching Tales by Firelight. I remember when I was younger, and my grandfather would come around for a special holiday or something, and it wasn't at the beginning, but he'd find the right moment to start telling us some spooky stories. And usually had friends over, and they all loved hearing it. And my grandma would always slip out of the room. She didn't like to hang out during the stories. And the older I got, the more I noticed how she would always leave. And it didn't stop my grandfather from sharing all kinds of amazing tales of him running from things in the night. But my mom recently told my grandma that I was doing Tales by Firelight, and I was telling all of Grandpa's stories and others that I've heard. And so she wanted to help and decided to tell some of the stories that she had, some of the encounters that happened in her family. And my mom was surprised because she'd never heard any. My great-great-grandfather took his son to Socorro one night. It was like a couple days travel, and so they were walking along the path. This night was a very dark night. There wasn't any stars, there was no moon, and they were really tired because it was pitch black and they'd been walking all day long. So they came across a little chapel. Well, here's a bit of history. So at this time, because people walked around so much between towns, they would build a little chapel if a person died on the way. And these little chapels can be found all over the place, on the back trails that people don't even use anymore. And it's a small, tiny little chapel that had enough room for like 4 people to fit inside. More of a memorial for them, right? Now, when they found this little chapel, they were thrilled because they would see them all the time, and people would take refuge inside of them to sleep. So they did the same exact thing. They got into the chapel, they had their dinner, and they went to bed. As they were laying inside this little tiny room with a short ceiling, maybe 6 feet high, my great-great-grandfather, he began to feel uneasy. He felt like something was in the room, like something was watching them. And as he lay there in his sleeping bag, kind of looking around, he looked over at his son and noticed that his son was aware and was also bright-eyed, looking at everything. His eyes were wide in fear. But it didn't take very long for that feeling of fear to be replaced with calm, tranquility, peace, good feeling. And my great-great-grandfather realized that they weren't alone, but everything was okay. So he looked over at his son and he told him, "Go ahead and go to bed. Everything's fine." A few hours had passed when my great-great-grandfather woke up because he had to relieve himself. So he got up, walked out of the chapel door, and it was so dark outside. So he just walked a few, maybe 10 steps towards a bush and began to relieve himself. As he was looking up, trying to find a star in the darkness, he began to hear what sounded like horses in the distance. When he was done, he started moving through the bushes to take a peek. And as he moved a few branches, he saw what looked like 2 enormous black dogs. And they had glowing red eyes. And it looked like they were playing with each other very violently. And so when he saw that, he began to take a step back when he hit a twig. And it made a loud snap. Immediately, the 2 animals stopped and looked directly in his direction. So he turned around. The first thing he thought of was his son. He started running back towards the chapel. Now, when he looked at the chapel and began running, in the doorway that he left open, there was a white silhouette of a person. And he began to run towards the silhouette. When it quickly moved out of his way, he went into the chapel, and the door was slammed behind him. He quickly grabbed his son and sat in the corner of the room in horror, just staring at that door, praying that it wouldn't open. Right outside the chapel, he could hear growling. When all the sound left, it became quiet. So he slowly got up, and there was a little window. So he moved right next to the window and took a peek, and there was nothing outside. So he moved back a couple steps and immediately began to feel a feeling of love and peace, and it filled his whole body. It made the hair stand on the back of his neck, but in a good way. This tingly feeling surrounded him, and he knew that he and his boy were going to be okay. I just wanted to thank everyone for subscribing and following Tales by Firelight. It's been an awesome experience, and I have so many more tales coming your way. So if you don't want to miss the next tale, please follow me on Facebook, follow C First. But if you prefer YouTube, please don't forget to hit that bell to get your reminder. Until next week.